Want to get great Kingfisher photos with the least gear possible? In less than 10 minutes, I will show you how to achieve these results with only an entry-level camera and a short telephoto lens. Kingfisher photography doesn't have to be hard or expensive if you know how to do it right. And in this video, I will show you just that. Let's go! In this video, I will be explaining how you can get up-close photos of kingfishers by setting the camera on a tripod, pointing it towards the spot where they regularly sit and hunt, and triggering it from a distance. This technique allows you to use even the most basic, entry-level gear and still achieve results that may otherwise require an expensive telephoto lens and a much higher-end camera. I will divide this video into three main parts: planning and location, gear choice and setup, and shooting. I know most of you are here for the gear and shooting parts, so I promise to keep this section short. First, you need to find kingfishers. I look for them along the rivers, streams, and lakes where there are parts with shallow water. If you see small fish in the water, that's also a good sign. Look for small blue and orange birds flying around close to the water or perched on branches and rocks. Also, listen for their calls, which sound like this. Now that you've successfully located them, you should find a good-looking stick and set it up, because kingfishers love new fishing spots, and they quickly start using them. You should position the stick so that when the kingfishers land on it, they are in the perfect position. The top should be 1 to 1.5 meters above the water surface. Another tip is to always approach your spot slowly and quietly. Even if you can't see it right away, the kingfisher might be somewhere in the area, and if you don't make too much noise, you have a greater chance of photographing it. For each new location, I use the PhotoPills app to determine the sun's position at various times of the day. This helps me select the best spot. I prefer having sunlight from behind and slightly to the side, so a part of the bird is in the shadow. Now, let's move on to the gear and setup. Gear choice and setup. To successfully photograph a kingfisher, you will need a camera, a lens, a tripod, and a wireless remote or your phone to trigger the camera from a distance. I will be using a Nikon Z30, a Sigma 70-200mm lens, a compact travel tripod from Sirui, and a SnapBridge phone app. First, let's talk about the camera. It doesn't really matter if it's an interchangeable lens camera or a compact one with a built-in lens. What is important is that it allows you to set a focusing point, lock the focus, trigger the shutter, and take a photo from a distance. Ideally, it should also allow you to take pictures without making any sound, because it could spook the bird. As for the lens, generally, the more it zooms in and brings your subject closer to you, the better. Basically, every telephoto lens on the market should work, but if you've got a choice, I recommend you use a lens with 200mm or more and an f-stop of 4.5 or wider. What isn't important for this style of shooting is whether the lens has autofocus capability or not, and whether it has stabilization or not, because the focus will be locked on a branch and the lens will be placed on a tripod, so stabilization will play no role here. The third piece of equipment that you need is a tripod. Again, practically any tripod that can hold your camera in place will work, because we will be setting the camera on it and leaving it in one spot. Lastly, you will need a way to trigger the camera while being hidden between 5 and 15 meters away. This can be done in many ways, but the easiest would be to use a wireless remote controller such as this one here, or use the camera control app on your phone. For both options, just make sure that it allows you to capture a sequence of photos continuously when you press and hold the shutter button. If your camera brand has an app that allows you to see the live view from the camera and trigger the camera continuously at the same time, then definitely use that. In my case with Nikon cameras, the SnapBridge app will let you do both, but not at the same time. So I will choose the continuous shutter release over the live view option. You will have similar conditions if you use a wireless remote controller. Bonus tip: if your camera has the ability to power it through a USB port, you can also take a small power bank, hang it on the tripod, and provide continuous power this way. Because you will be waiting for the bird anywhere between 30 minutes and a few hours, and your camera will be turned on the whole time, you might run out of battery pretty quickly. Powering it with a power bank will assure you that it will have enough power for the whole time. Now let me show you how to set everything up. I will be explaining this part assuming that you have already found a good spot where kingfishers regularly hunt and that you know where to put the camera to have the bird in frame. The first step is to take out your camera and put it on the tripod. Make sure that the tripod is level and the camera is balanced on it. You don't want the wind to tip it over. Next, you have to decide where to place the camera. Be mindful of the background behind the branch. Don't place it too close to the branch, as it might look suspicious to the bird. I usually place it around 5 meters away. Point the camera towards the branch and place the top of the branch right in the middle of the frame. I would suggest that you leave some space around it. Don't zoom in all the way, trying to get the bird perfectly in the frame, because you can't predict where exactly it will sit and in which direction it will face. Remember, you won't be behind the camera adjusting the angle while photographing. You have to set it up now for the best chance to capture the kingfisher. Back home on the computer, you will be able to crop the photo a little bit and place the bird in a more suitable position, for example, on the third of the frame. Now it's time to prepare the camera for the shooting. Focus the lens on the top of the branch, exactly where the bird will be sitting, then lock the focus. You don't want it to change and try to focus while the kingfisher is there. While you're at it, also disable the stabilization. All other settings are optional, since not all cameras allow you to change them. If you can, set the aperture to f4.5. This way you will have enough depth of field to have the bird in focus even if it doesn't sit exactly in the spot that you predicted, while still blurring out the background. If you want more light and a more blurred background, move to the lower number. And if you want more detail in the background, you can get more depth of field by moving to a larger f number. Set the shutter speed to around 1/500 of a second. This is a good shutter speed to freeze the motion of the bird on the branch, since it won't be moving that much. If you notice that the pictures still have some unwanted motion blur, set the camera to a faster shutter speed, and if your subject is not moving that much, you can set it to a slower shutter speed. If your camera allows it, set your ISO to auto and let the camera adjust the sensitivity. This will help you have a good exposure even when the light changes. Next, set your camera to continuous shooting mode. Different brands have different names for this, so just find a setting that will let you shoot a series of photos when you press the shutter. Set the camera to silent mode so it won't make any sound when shooting. You don't want to scare away the bird when it sits on the branch. As the last step, connect the remote shutter or the phone app to the camera and test that your connection is working properly. Now all you have to do is cover the camera either with a camouflage net or, even easier, with some branches and leaves so it blends well with the surrounding nature. Shooting. Okay, everything is in place. Now you just have to hide and wait for the kingfisher. I usually try to hide about 5 to 15 meters away from the camera, behind a rock or tall vegetation. The goal is to stay hidden, still, and quiet so the kingfisher doesn't notice you are there. This way you will have a good view of the gear, so someone doesn't get too interested in it, and you can also see if the kingfisher is approaching or already sitting on the branch. If the branch is very far away, you can also help yourself by using a pair of binoculars. I will now wait here for the kingfisher to show up so I can demonstrate the final step, the actual taking of the shot.
Yes, we got it.
If you're confident with all the concepts described in this video, then I recommend you watch this video next, because I explain the settings more in detail, as well as step up the approach to yield even better results. And if you're interested in more advanced kingfisher photography and filmmaking gear, then this video is for you.